3, 2.
What are you guys doing?
What? We're here to save you.
So, I recently watched Suicide Squad, and honestly, it was awesome. I can say with all certainty it was definitely better than the first movie. Like, 100% better than the first movie. A lot of people died, just like they said. You had a lot of characters, you're like, oh, that's that person, and then they're dead. Absolutely loved it. One thing to note is that Suicide Squad 2, or The Suicide Squad, is not exactly a sequel. It is a movie that can stand alone. So if you're wondering whether or not you can actually watch this movie without watching the first one, yes, you can. This might as well have been the original Suicide Squad, or what it was supposed to be.
What's the plan?
How the hell am I supposed to know?
The Suicide Squad was a very fun romp adventure. I could tell that they were slightly trying to remake it a little bit. A lot of people had hopes for it because it was directed by James Gunn.
Protecting this country. Everyone stand down.
Miss Waller, I don't—
Stand down!
This woman is the only thing I hate about this entire movie. I hated her in the first one, I hate her in this one too. And I knew there was a reason why I did, because turns out she's a real big asshole. Anyway, to answer the question, yes, this movie is better. Much better than the first one. Some people may say that this movie feels a lot like Guardians of the Galaxy. For me, it also had some Rick and Morty elements in it as well. And this cast of misfits feels a lot more cohesive than the ones in the first movie. And thanks to James Gunn, this movie was actually a much better quality than the first movie. No shade to whoever made the first movie, but yeah, kinda. The only thing I liked about the first movie was Harley Quinn and Joker's little spiel, even though Joker was freaking cringe. I just pretended that wasn't the actual Joker and just some other type of Joker. Anyway, what makes this Suicide Squad so much better than the first Suicide Squad? So Amanda Waller, or the evil villainous Nick Fury, assembles this group called Task Force X, which is basically Suicide Squad, but I guess the name was offensive. Apparently she has a top secret mission that is basically suicidal. It could cost them their lives one way or another. And that's how the story starts. For those of you at the beginning of the video, I don't want to spoil absolutely everything about the movie to you, but things get real, and yes, they were right, a lot of people do die. It's a very graphic and violent film, and it does feel very nihilistic, but at the same time, it's happy and amusing. They do try to throw a few jokes in there that fell kind of flat, but not like flat on its face, like flat on its ass. I don't know if there's a difference. Obviously, especially in the second half or near the first half of the movie or first act of the movie, there could be some work on the dialogue.
They call him the polka dot man.
Polka dot man. What does he do? Throw polka dots at people? He does.
And the movie does end up feeling rushed at times, especially in the first half of the movie. But it does make up for it in the action sequence in the third act of the movie. It has a lot of action, some war movie undertones, but there's something about it that really sets it aside from the first one. And what personally stood out for me was that I found myself caring for the characters. Even the stupid weasel thing.
Weasel.
And that's kind of disturbing, especially when you consider that the weasel thing killed or ate 27 children. The shark character that we saw in the trailer in Nanawe, you get to have these little moments with the characters through the stories they tell or how they behave that makes you connect with them. And they did that so well here. I was kind of worried that they weren't going to do that, but James Gunn did a good job of directing that. The writers did a good job. Everyone who was a part of the Suicide Squad, I grew to actually like. I cared whether or not something happened to them. The only person I cared about in the first Suicide Squad was Harley Quinn, and she's in this too. And you know nothing's gonna happen to her. She's a freaking badass, man. I love Harley Quinn. Margot Robbie is now officially Harley Quinn, just like Ryan Reynolds is officially Deadpool. Dialogue and depth is actually advanced during the last part of the movie, and I actually found myself legitimately laughing at some funny bits. I don't remember feeling as good or chuckling as much in the original, but I definitely will say if I had to choose one of the movies to watch again, it would definitely be this one. The villain of the story was, like you see in the trailer, just basically a big gigantic starfish, but there is an element to him that he's not just a two-dimensional character. There's something else to him that makes you feel like you want to see his story. Like I would want to write a POV about this guy. He was an actual character in the comics, and the original story, the origin that I got from that was really freaking cool. I actually would want to read that someday. Probably won't, but it makes me interested enough to say that I would like to. Like, if I would actually say that that's a movie that they should probably make. DC is good with one-off movies. If you want to make something, make one on the origin of Starro the Conqueror. And I think that it's the original Starro the Conqueror, the one where there was this star beast or creature and it enslaved a whole bunch of people, and this one guy on this planet was like, no bro, no, I'm gonna conquer you. And then he ended up controlling the Queen Starro or the Queen Star thing, and then he became Starro the Conqueror. That would be a great movie. At times I actually felt bad for the villain, and you kind of feel like it's kind of warranted. Jesus Christ. I'm sorry about that. My puppy is just going ham on that pig ear. It's like the more I speak, the louder it gets. Okay. I swear to God, she's almost done. This is so unprofessional, but I'm not a professional. Anyway, you need Foley sound effects for bones breaking. Give your dog a crunchy pig ear. Anyway, as I was saying, it's totally warranted why the villain of the story did that. And in some ways, you could actually see him as the frickin' hero. Not really the hero, but the protagonist of his own story. I know that all of us are protagonists of our own stories, but specifically for him, what they did to him and what happened to him, you realize, wow, humans kind of call that down on themselves. Not what happened, but you'd have to watch the movie to get it further. The point I'm making is he's not an empty villain. He's not just a villain that is just thrown in there just for the sake of being something that the Suicide Squad can fight. Even though it looks like that at a glance, it's not. And I'm glad that's where they went with it. They get to a little bit of a different story, but maybe they're taking elements from his original origin story. I'm not really sure because you don't get a whole lot about him. There's some characters based on the trailer that you think are going to have this really huge role in the movie, and they don't. They're just there for literally like 3 seconds, and then they're not. I will say the way they shot the trailer, sometimes you have no idea who's gonna die. Like, you think that these are gonna be the main characters, some of them, and then they just get off. You're like, dude, what? And if they're not, who's the main character? Like, what is going on? You're just completely shafted until you watch the movie and you realize what's going on. You're like, oh, wow. Did not see that coming. There are some deaths where you do see it coming, but for the most part, especially in the beginning of the movie, you don't see those coming. Like, I didn't expect that. The music score was awesome. I love the songs that James Gunn or whoever chose because it did feel a bit like Guardians of the Galaxy, and I don't know if that's what he was going for. You could feel a lot of inspiration from that, or maybe Guardians of the Galaxy and this are just inspirations from James Gunn himself, just the way that he jokes around, the way that he does things. I found myself Shazamming like every few seconds because they do play a lot of songs throughout this movie, but I found myself keeping my phone right there on my lap. Ooh, gotta Shazam that song because I actually like that song, and you find out it's a song that's from like the old days, like the 2000s, and you're like, dude, where did he find this? Must be something that he actually likes. And that element of it was like Guardians of the Galaxy. Harley Quinn, specifically, there is a number with Harley Quinn in there that was just so awesome, and it kind of reminds me of that little number with Pyro from Team Fortress when they're doing the intros for the characters. And Pyro in his mind is tearing people apart, but everything is like flowers and roses to him. That's how it looks to him when he's doing it. So you understand why he enjoys it. Like, he's innocent, but he's not, but he is. Because he doesn't think he's hurting people. Like, he's burning people to a crisp, but in his mind, he's showering them with fun bubbles. And that's how you realize that Harley Quinn looks at things. Not exactly like that, but it kind of reminds me of that a little bit. And I think that was fun because it's something that they didn't show in the first one. I think they also wanted Harley Quinn to stand on her own and not just be Joker's girlfriend. I would always think of her, oh, that's the female Joker. Now, this character is so established and likable that I can say with all certainty, that's not the female Joker, that's Harley Quinn, which she is a female Joker, but you don't have to call her that because she's a standalone character. I know she always was, but in the cinematic universe or in the movies, that's how it kind of came across to me, and I heard other people saying that too. Might not be the majority of people that were saying it, but that's what I've heard. But now I'm like, nah, she's Harley Quinn, dude. She's not even Joker's girlfriend. She's just Harley Quinn. Now, I will say I did not watch Birds of Prey, nor am I really interested, or I wasn't interested before to watch it. This movie made me kind of interested to watch it, because there are references to the first Suicide Squad, but obviously, Birds of Prey was about her getting over Joker. It kind of was like a consequence of the first movie, sort of, with Harley Quinn's story. So now, seeing this, it makes me interested enough to kind of want to see Birds of Prey. I didn't like the marketing around it, and I heard that it was just, you know, it wasn't like a great movie, but it was okay. So I never really wanted to see it, until I watched Suicide Squad by James Gunn. Who is even the director of the first Suicide Squad? Like, I don't even care enough to know. I think I knew at one point, but I forgot because it just wasn't important information for me to keep in my catalog. And I'm not trying to diss the director personally, like I have a personal vendetta against this person. I don't know them, I don't care. It's just the movie was that unforgettable that I didn't care. Like Brightburn, I know James Gunn did that. That was very memorable to me. And Harley Quinn, her performance as Harley Quinn was memorable to me because of the role that she played in there with Joker. If this was any other person with Joker, it would have been cringe. But she helped uncringe the Joker that was the Joker in Suicide Squad. But dare I say it, the movie was good enough that if Harley Quinn wasn't in it, it would have been great. You know, there's certain movies where one character or actor makes the difference between the movie sucking or not. This wasn't that. I actually cared about the other characters. And if she wasn't in there, like, she didn't have to be there. I wouldn't have cared whether she was or not. I like that she was in there. I love Harley Quinn, but she didn't have to be in there. There were other characters in there where you're just like, I don't want any of these characters to die. Like, I was actually worried after these characters started hanging out. I was like, yeah, they're whatever. You don't really have any backstory for these guys. I don't care about them. But as time goes on, James Gunn knew how to put everything together and direct everything in a sort of way and to make the performance believable by the characters that you're like, wow, I actually like these characters. Even Idris Elba. My partner was watching the movie with me and he was like, dude, I've never seen Idris Elba this aggressive. And it was interesting watching him play that role because he's always elegant and classy. But the thing is, he's still elegant and classy, but just in a more abrasive way. And he came off a bit like Roy Kent from Ted Lasso. You should definitely watch that show. It's a feel-good, Hallmarky type of show, but it's actually pretty cool. I like it. You could say it's a chick show, whatever. Maybe so. My partner likes it too, and he doesn't like a lot of those. There is that one character in there that has the same personality as Bloodsport, Idris Elba's character. And it's where they're so standoffish, but people can see that they're good people despite the big bad bear facade. And that just made me like him more. And you could see that through the eyes of another character that he gets close with. The movie was good. The movie was good. The conclusion was good. It was a bit weird. Something that happened at the end with a specific character that you're like, okay, this person is freaking nuts. Like, something is seriously wrong with you. And I always figured something was, but not like that. And you're like, dude, what is... It just came out of left field for me. Like, I don't know. It felt weird. I'm happy that happened, sort of, but you're just kind of blown away. I don't know what that was, but I guess it needed to happen. But it's just the way it happened that was just really unexpected. Might not be a shock to some people, but it was definitely a shock to me. And then you're left asking the one question with one word. Why? Why? What? Anyways, I love this movie. That's it for my review. I think it was awesome. I might talk about it in the future. I might not, but there are creatures in it, so you know I will on my Ultiori channel. Thank you so much for watching. You should definitely go check it out.